In the third year of our relationship, Sam started thinking about breaking up. One night, drunk, he confided in a friend, "Selena is like a bowl of plain porridge. I'm just tired of eating the same thing, but I don't want to be the bad guy. I need a good enough excuse to dump her." Someone gave him an idea. Kevin, the heir who just returned from abroad. There isn't a woman he can't win over. Besides, Selena's looks are exactly his type. But Sam was confident, shaking his head. Selena's way too obedient. She'd never fall for a guy like him. Later, he watched with his own eyes as I obediently let Kevin kiss me, and all he could feel was jealousy, like a blade stuck in his throat, choking him, driving him mad. Later still, he came begging for another chance. "Selena, after 3 years together, can you really walk away just like that?" That night, Kevin pinned me against the floor-to-ceiling window, his voice low and forceful. "Selena, 3 years of feelings? So what? Can he ever make you feel the way I do?" Chapter 1. In the third year of my relationship with Sam, I was like any girl seriously in love, ready to settle down into a stable marriage. On our 3rd anniversary, I had prepared a pair of rings, but I never got the chance to give them to him. Halfway through the gathering that night, I stepped outside to take a call, and accidentally overheard him talking with his friends. "Selena is great, really obedient, but I just don't want her anymore. She's like a bowl of plain congee. You know? Warm, comforting, but bland. I've had it for 3 years, I'm sick of it. Recently met a girl, fiery, bold, amazing body. I'm kinda obsessed." "You're serious? You really wanna break up?" Sam bit his cigarette and gave a short laugh. "Dead serious. That seductress is all I think about now. But I can't find a single thing wrong with Selena. I don't want to be the bad guy, but I need the right reason to dump her." I stood behind a tall potted plant, watching the man I'd loved for 3 whole years frown in frustration because he couldn't figure out how to dump me cleanly. 3 years ago, he fought so hard to win me over. Now, he was racking his brain trying to get rid of me without guilt. My vision blurred. Water droplets rolled off the broadleaves above me. I reached up to touch my face. Only then did I realize I was crying. Chapter 2. I was about to turn and leave when another friend suddenly spoke up. "I've got an idea. Heard Kevin just got back to the country. That infamous playboy prince, there's no woman he can't win over." Sam's expression turned cold. "What's that supposed to mean?" "I mean, if Kevin takes your girl, boom, there's your perfect excuse to break up." "Please, Kevin's too picky. Why would he look at her?" "Apparently, he loves that type. Over the years, he's had a dozen girlfriends, all soft little flowers. He could play matching games with them. And Selena's face? Just his type." Sam shook his head, sounding confident. "Selena's way too proper. She's polite, rigid. There's no way she'd fall for someone like him. So even if Kevin was interested, it'd be pointless. Desperate times, right? Worth a shot." His friend laughed. "And hey, if the prince steals your girl, you're the victim. That's a win-win. He'd even owe you a favor." Sam lowered his gaze and didn't respond. "He's actually dining nearby tonight. Wanna test it out?" I stared at Sam's face. After about 10 seconds of silence, he nodded. And in that moment, whatever remaining tie I felt toward him shattered into nothing. Chapter 3. When the gathering ended, Sam said he had drunk too much and asked me to walk with him in the garden. I didn't refuse. On the way out, he accidentally spilled his drink, staining my dress. He took me to the lounge to change into a new one. It was white, pure and innocent in style. "You look better with your hair down." Sam suddenly reached up and removed my hair clip. My long hair fell to my waist, smooth and glossy like silk. For a brief moment, a softness surfaced in his slightly reddened eyes. But he still said, "Let's go." The garden was large. On this spring night, the occasional chirp of insects only made the quiet more serene. "Selena, wait here for a bit. I need to make a call." I nodded, still no refusal. Sam walked away with his phone, but didn't come back. A drunken man came over to smoke and tried to strike up a conversation. He staggered toward me, and before I could avoid him, He nearly pulled open the neckline of my dress. Startled, I cried out in panic. Suddenly, footsteps approached rapidly from behind the hedges. Several tall men in black. In seconds, they kicked the drunk man to the ground. And then I saw the legendary Kevin. He stood in the tender shadows of the night, a cigarette between his fingers flickering in and out. The garden lights weren't too bright, and his face was mostly obscured by dim glow and shadow. All I could make out was his tall, slender figure. I stood awkwardly, clutching my neckline. My long hair, tousled, hung loosely over my chest. The spring breeze was gentle, brushing my skirt against my calves, bringing with it an itchy, unbearable tickle. I bent down to brush it away, but the broken heel made me lose balance. As I was about to fall, a strong, steady hand suddenly grasped my arm. Then a suit jacket, laced with faint smoke and rich oud scent, was draped gently over my shoulders, covering the bare skin that had been exposed. Chapter 4. To the west of the garden, a pavilion stood slightly elevated. Sam and his friends stood beneath it. From there, they could see everything in the garden. He saw Kevin's bodyguards intervene and drive the drunk away. He saw Kevin reach out to catch Selena and drape his coat over her shoulders. Everything was just as his friend had predicted. From the moment Kevin saw Selena, his gaze hadn't left her face. At first, Sam felt a bit of triumph, but when Selena showed no sign of avoiding suspicion, he suddenly felt uneasy. Selena had always been timid and obedient, though he was tired of how plain she was. Deep down, he still hoped she'd be gentle only for him. As the night deepened, he watched Kevin's assistant bring over a new pair of shoes. Watched them talk. He couldn't hear the words, but Selena occasionally pressed her lips into a smile. The dimples at the corners of her cheeks would flicker faintly. Sweet, well-behaved, lovely. Somehow, Sam had stopped smoking. He didn't know when it had happened. He just stood there, staring, completely distracted. When Selena obediently followed Kevin away, Sam suddenly lost control and grabbed the burning end of his cigarette. The pain seared through his palm. He quickly let go and dropped the stub. But when he looked up again, the garden was already empty. She was gone. Chapter 5. I only realized something was wrong with my body after I got into Kevin's car. It must have been that last glass of juice Sam gave me. There was something in it. I always knew he could be vile, but I didn't think he'd stoop this low. We'd been together for 3 years, met each other's parents, and everyone thought we were headed toward marriage. And now, he had handed me over to another man, just so he could break up with me guilt-free. The drug was taking hold. As the car jolted slightly, my leg brushed against Kevin's knee. My body felt scorching hot, unbearably weak. I could barely sit upright. Kevin looked over at me. Selena, what's wrong? My mind was already foggy. I didn't even realize he had called me by my full name. My throat burned with thirst. My voice came out hoarse, almost begging. Mr. Kevin, I wanted to say, please take me to a hospital. But when his hand gently grasped my forearm, that last fragile thread called rationality snapped. You're burning up, Kevin murmured, brows slightly furrowed as he placed a hand on my forehead. His temperature was cooler than mine, and the moment his palm touched me, I sighed in relief. The faint scent of tobacco faded, replaced by the rich, calming aroma of oud. I clutched his fingers, pressing them to my burning cheek. So comfortable. Kevin told the driver to turn the car around and lowered the privacy screen. The back seat was spacious, sealed off from the outside world. He finally dropped the act. Pulling his hand free, he slipped his arm around my waist. My body lifted for a moment, then fell softly. My white dress scattered over his lap like half-bloomed petals. Kevin raised a hand, his fingertip brushing over my flushed, swollen lips. There was a playful heat in his gaze as he leaned closer, voice low and seductive. Selena, I looked at him, dazed, but couldn't stop myself from parting my lips and gently biting down on his long, slender finger. The coolness relieved the heat inside me for only a second. Do you want to feel even better? His other hand pressed against the small of my back. Just as the words fell, his palm drew me forward. Do you want it more comfortable? Chapter 6. Dizzy with desire. I nodded. Kevin's hand had already cradled the back of my head, firm and steady. He leaned in and kissed me, lips parting mine in a deep kiss. Something inside me clicked, like a secret switch had been flipped. My fingers gripped his sleeve, so tightly my knuckles turned white, but I still couldn't help it. A soft moan escaped my throat. Just this, and it feels that good? He chuckled low, gently biting my lower lip. His hand pressed more firmly against my back, pulling me closer to his toned waist. Kevin kissed me again, swallowing that moan completely. Otherwise, I won't be able to stop. Just as he said that, my phone suddenly started ringing. Kevin calmly reached into my bag and pulled it out. On the screen, Sam's name flashed repeatedly. Kevin's lips curled into a smirk, his eyes dark and barely restrained. Selena, it's your boyfriend. Do you want to answer? The ringing seemed to drag my mind back from the edge. I shook my head hard, tears brimming in my eyes. No, Kevin, don't pick up. All right, he said softly, putting the phone down, then leaned back into the seat. Selena, come kiss me. Open your mouth. Don't bite. He winced from the pain, frowning slightly, then his fingers hooked under the strap of my dress, pulling it aside. In the dim, swaying light, only the soft whiteness of skin flickered in and out of view. His throat moved slightly as he swallowed, and when he spoke again, his voice was hoarse. Selena, you've grown up. Chapter 7. I didn't quite understand what Kevin meant by that last sentence. I was 24, of course I was already grown. The car stopped in front of the main building of Kevin's villa. The driver had tactfully kept his distance. Kevin wrapped me in his suit jacket and carried me out of the car. The heat burning through my body was unbearable. I tried to pull off the jacket, wanting to throw it away, but his hands stopped mine mid-movement. Endure it a little longer, we're not inside yet. I shook my head desperately. My burning hands fumbled at his shirt, pulling at the buttons and hem. My fingers landed on the firm muscle of his slim waist and defined abs. I pressed my flaming palms to his cool skin, then my flushed cheek followed. My breath was hot, puffing against his chest. Kevin's steps faltered for a moment. He looked down at me, a trace of helplessness in his eyes. Then he grabbed my restless hands again and picked up his pace. Selena, you asked for this. When you're sober, don't cry about it. And don't blame me. The phone I had left behind in the car began to ring again, urgently, endlessly, but no one paid it any attention. Chapter 8. Sam's expression was dark as night. He had lost count of how many times he'd called Selena, how many texts he'd sent, but none had been answered. It was late, yet he couldn't sleep. Everything had been going so smoothly. Tomorrow, he could finally break up with Selena guilt-free, but all he could think about was the image of her smiling up at Kevin. Regret gnawed at him. Maybe he shouldn't have acted on impulse, drugging that juice, following his friend's awful advice. Even if Selena was just bland porridge, he'd had enough of it. But still, he couldn't stand seeing another man cradle that bowl in his hands. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was 3 years of history. Maybe he'd once truly loved her. His phone rang suddenly. He answered it without even thinking. It wasn't Selena. So, did it work out? You happy now? His friend sounded smug. Sam found the voice irritating. I took pics in the garden, Kevin helping her. Selena getting in his car. Super clear. Take them to her tomorrow. Break up clean. She won't have a word to say. Sam suddenly cut him off. Selena's with Kevin right now? No. I checked. His friend chuckled. Our prince may be a flirt, but he's not that scummy. He knew Selena was your girl. He sent her straight home. Sam hung up, grabbed his keys, ready to head out, but the door creaked open, and in walked a woman with a heavy coat of makeup. Sam, I've been waiting for you forever. Her voice was sweet, sultry, totally different from Selena. Sam felt a twinge of desire stir in him. If Selena had already gone home, there was nothing to worry about. He'd planned to break up anyway. If he went now and softened, she might cling again. Wouldn't that ruin everything? He'd come this far. Sam clenched his jaw. The young woman threw herself at him, clinging tight. Sam, why aren't you saying anything? He looked down at her eager, bold face, and the porridge like Selena slowly faded from his mind. He gripped the girl's jaw and kissed her. "Wanna come back to my place tonight? Aren't you afraid your girlfriend will find out?" Sam chuckled. "What girlfriend? You're the one I'm with now. You're so bad." "I haven't said yes yet." "Doesn't matter if you say yes. You don't get to decide." He didn't wait for more words. He picked her up and threw her onto the couch. She yelped, laughing, wrapping her arms around his neck. Sam knelt on the sofa, unbuckling his belt. But as he leaned in, the girl's bright face somehow morphed into Selena's. Sam froze, frowning. Then, without a word, he turned the girl around to face away from him, and only then did he lean in again. Chapter 9. When Kevin carried me into the bathtub. My dress was already a mess, tugged and wrinkled by my own hands. As I sank into the water, there was a brief flash of clarity, but it vanished the moment the warm water touched my burning skin, only to become even hotter. My back pressed tightly against his firm chest. Kevin lowered his head and kissed my cheek, soft, fleeting. On the shelf nearby, a phone silently started recording. I had no idea. He didn't cross many lines. Even the kiss was restrained, more like a light taste. But that only made the ache worse. Unable to resist, I raised my arms and wrapped them around his neck. Trying to deepen the kiss, Kevin abruptly pulled back. He grasped my wrist and drew my body away from his. I looked at him, lost and aching. "Mr. Kevin?" Leaning back in the tub, Kevin chuckled with a wicked smirk. "Selena," he said, "you really need to be clear about what you want." The water rippled gently in the tub. My soaked dress clung to my slender, curvaceous figure. With every ragged breath, my chest rose and fell beneath the fabric. Kevin, shirtless, revealed his honey-toned skin and perfectly sculpted muscles. I couldn't help but want to touch him, but the moment I reached out, he caught my hand. "Selena, it's getting late." He made a move to get up. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I threw myself into his arms and clung to him tightly. "Mr. Kevin, I want you." "What do you want from me?" "I want you, like in the car." "And who am I?" "You're Mr. Kevin." "Mr. Kevin?" He tilted my chin up gently. "Selena, look at me. Say it properly." "I'm looking." "You're Mr. Kevin." "You're Kevin." "Good. Now say it again." "What do you want?" I couldn't bear it anymore and began to cry. Softly, helplessly, with closed eyes. I kissed blindly along his jaw. "I want Kevin. I want Kevin." "And what do you want Kevin to do?" "To kiss me, like in the car." Chapter 10. He finally lowered his head and kissed me, hard, intense. The clothes in the way were torn off in an instant. The next second, he lifted me out of the tub, right in front of the enormous vanity in the bathroom. In the flawless mirror, I saw my own face clearly. The light makeup was nearly gone, but my face was even more flushed and radiant than the boldest rouge. My eyes shimmered, misted over with heat. I had just been carried from the tub. Yet I was even more soaked than before. Kevin's lips landed on the side of my neck. "Selena." He bit lightly on my earlobe. "So delicate. Haven't you been eating properly?" "Kevin." I tilted my head back, unable to bear it, and glared at him in the mirror. "You talk too damn much." Chapter 11. When I woke up the next morning, my entire body felt like it had been run over by a truck. Every inch of me was sore, weak, and aching. The blackout curtains were tightly drawn. Not a sliver of light could break through. My mind was still hazy, and for a moment I couldn't tell what day or time it was. I forced myself upright, only to realize I wasn't wearing anything at all. My brain exploded instantly. As fragmented memories from last night flooded in, I sat on the bed, stunned, as if struck by lightning. So, Kevin and I actually slept together last night? The room was empty and quiet, judging by the layout and decor. This had to be Kevin's bedroom. I had no idea how to face the absurdity of it all. All I wanted was to get out of this unfamiliar place as soon as possible. I showered in a hurry, and when I came out, I saw my dress had already been washed and dried. I threw it on quickly, grabbed my phone and bag, and left the bedroom. I didn't see Kevin on my way downstairs. One of the housekeepers was bustling about in the living room. When she saw me, she smiled warmly and said, "Miss Selena, you're awake. There's breakfast prepared in the kitchen. No need." "Thank you," I replied without slowing my pace. The housekeeper followed after me again. "Miss Selena, are you looking for Mr. Kevin? He woke up late today and just went out for a run. He hasn't come back yet." "No, I'm not looking for him." I stopped, slightly flustered, too embarrassed to meet her eyes. "I'm heading home now. You can go back to work. No need to follow me." "But Mr. Kevin asked us to let him know as soon as you woke up." "That's not necessary." I quickly cut her off. "I have something to take care of at home. Don't bother him." "Then please allow the driver to take you home." "That's really not needed. I called a car already." I didn't want to run into Kevin. After a few polite excuses, I walked out hastily, but I hadn't even reached the front gate when Kevin came jogging back. He was in sportswear, and the curves of his muscles were especially striking. I glanced at him, then quickly looked away. On his strong, muscular forearm were several fresh, visible scratch marks. They looked very recent, clearly left by me the night before. Chapter 12. "Where are you going?" Kevin took the clean towel handed to him by the housekeeper and wiped the sweat from his brow as he asked. "Home." "Wait a minute. I'll take a quick shower and drive you." "It's really not necessary. I called a car. It'll be here soon." "This is a private residence. Outside vehicles aren't allowed in. You'll have to walk at least a kilometer." "You sure you've got the strength for that?" Kevin raised an eyebrow and glanced at me, a wicked smile playing at the corners of his lips. I bit my lip and clutched the hem of my dress. My legs were still weak, my body faintly aching, and there was a dull discomfort in my lower belly. The shoes I was wearing were the high heels he'd picked out last night to match the dress. I knew exactly how painful a 1-kilometer walk would be in these. "I'll drive you," he said. Kevin walked over and gently tucked a loose strand of hair behind my ear. "Eat something first," he said. "Otherwise your stomach will hurt." I couldn't help glancing at him, a bit surprised. But Kevin didn't say anything more. He simply took my hand and led me back inside. While I sat in the dining room eating, Kevin went upstairs to shower. What surprised me was that his taste in food was nearly identical to mine. Everything that had been prepared was something I loved. Without realizing it, I finished everything on my plate. Kevin came downstairs freshly showered and dressed, even in a simple button-down shirt and slacks. He still had that effortlessly charming, roguish flair. He glanced at my empty plate, and a faint smile appeared in his eyes. "Full?" I nodded shyly. "Yes." The food the kitchen auntie made was really delicious. Kevin seemed to be in an excellent mood. With a wave of his hand, he doubled the salary of every housekeeper in the kitchen. They all burst into cheers and laughter. I just stood there like a true rich boy through and through, extravagant, generous, and utterly carefree with his wealth. Chapter 13. When we reached the front of my apartment building, Kevin asked the driver to step out first. I looked at him, puzzled. "There's something I need to tell you." "What is it?" I asked nervously. Kevin and Sam were completely different. The Song family might be rich, but they couldn't touch Kevin's circle, and although Kevin had spent the past few years abroad, I'd still hear his name from time to time. Stories about his background, his family, jaw-dropping. Stories about his private life, colorful and decadent. Rumors were often exaggerated. But where there's smoke, there's fire. They said his years studying overseas had been wild, that he'd even been involved in a case where someone died. But with his kind of background, even that could be smoothed over easily. Still, getting involved with a man like him scared me, even though from last night till now, Kevin had been nothing but gentlemanly and gentle. He didn't answer me. Instead, he pulled out his phone and played a recording. I'd barely heard one line when my face flushed crimson. I instinctively covered my ears. Kevin quickly turned it off. But the shame burned anyway. All I could hear was my own voice echoing in my head. "I want Kevin. Kiss me like in the car." I had never realized my voice could sound so soft. "Sir, can you delete that recording?" I asked him carefully. Kevin curved his lips. "Of course, Selena. I didn't record you to threaten you." "Then why?" "I was afraid you wouldn't believe me." Afraid you'd think I forced you. Wouldn't believe you? Of course, I was your antidote all night long. His gaze was calm. I can't just do that for nothing. I'm sorry. I was so embarrassed I almost cried. No need to say sorry. Just take responsibility. Take responsibility? Yes, responsibility. But what? I was stunned. How do I take responsibility? Marry me, Kevin? I blurted out his name in shock. Kevin leaned back against the seat and smiled. When he smiled, he was devastatingly handsome, charming enough to make hearts flutter, yet also enough to set off every alarm bell in my head. This was the kind of man I absolutely shouldn't touch, especially someone like me. I could never win that game. What's wrong? I lost my innocence, and you don't want to be responsible? My eyes widened, disbelief written all over my face. But Kevin seemed just a little bit serious now. Go home and think about it. Mr. Kevin, does it have to be this way? I bit my lip hard. You enjoyed it last night too. Then let's call it even. How do we call it even? Kevin's smile deepened, but it didn't reach his eyes. Selena, you tell me, can it really be even? I lowered my head, humiliated and afraid. Tears finally began to fall one by one. He was right. How could I possibly call it even? He was a first-timer. I wasn't. What are you crying for? Kevin roughly pinched my chin and wiped my tears. If you really don't want this, I won't force you. I'm sorry. I truly felt guilty. Sam had set him up, and I, last night, had acted out of spite and revenge. I'd gone along with it. I'd used him too. I hadn't expected there to be something dirty in the juice. I hadn't expected things to end up this way. Selena, let's compromise. How? If you don't want marriage, then be my girlfriend. Kevin wiped away another tear. So many tears. No wonder last night. I clamped my hand over his mouth. Kevin, don't you dare say. What are you so shy about? It's not like you didn't hold on to me and refuse to let me leave last night. Kevin! I lunged forward to cover his mouth again. But Kevin caught my wrist, pulled me in, and kissed me. This way works better anyway, he murmured. Chapter 14. When I got out of the car, my legs nearly gave out. It was Kevin who caught me just in time. Even after I got home, the heat on my face hadn't faded. Everything had gone completely off the rails. In just 2 days, my life had taken a sharp, unexpected turn. When Sam called, I still didn't want to pick up. But deep down, I already knew. Our 3-year relationship had officially ended last night. He sent me a few WeChat messages. There were some photos, pictures of me and Kevin talking in the garden, and then me leaving with him. Selena, don't you think you owe me an explanation? I actually laughed. If I hadn't overheard their conversation last night, maybe I would have really felt ashamed seeing those pictures. Sometimes I truly don't understand. Why can't men just break up honestly? Where does their confidence come from? To think that women will always cling to them, unable to move on? Sure, I'd be sad, but sad only because 3 years of commitment ended with nothing. I took the relationship seriously, but it didn't lead anywhere. Still, I had a clear conscience. Sam, let's break up. We'll each tell our own parents. No need to keep in touch. After replying, I didn't wait for his response. I blocked and deleted all his contact info. Chapter 15. I tried searching online for information about Kevin, and I talked to my best friend. She'd heard some rumors too, and she was seriously worried about me. Selena, I have a friend studying abroad. She said Kevin might have been involved in a death back then. His family's been struggling with his marriage prospects for years. Too many exes. Too much emotional detachment. Even wealthy heiresses don't want to marry into hardship. I'm scared for you that he might hurt you. That you'll end up heartbroken. Hurt me? Heartbroken? I felt a little dazed. After over a month of getting to know him, Kevin didn't seem as awful as the rumors made him out to be. Well, except for one, or maybe two, things. He loved teasing me, and in bed, he never seemed satisfied. My best friend and I had known each other since kindergarten. We were closer than sisters. Not wanting her to worry, I quietly told her all of this. But the moment I finished, she exploded. Selena, how could you enjoy something so good and not tell me? My last boyfriend, 3 months ago, was this small. Do you realize that? She started crying and pulled out her MAC lipstick. And you had the audacity to complain about size compatibility. I mean it. Think about it, Kevin's like 6'3" and I'm barely 5'3". She wouldn't listen. My ex was 6'2". It's so unfair. Why does the tall tree get the little chili pepper? I could only try to comfort her. Too big isn't always a good thing, it actually hurts sometimes. I want the pain, she said, glaring at me. Selena, I'm so jealous I could scream. I couldn't help but laugh through my tears. Somehow, the last shadows in my heart faded away with that silly conversation. That night, Kevin came to pick me up for dinner. I thought it was just a regular date, but it turned out he was taking me to meet his closest friends. I was confused. People said Kevin never stayed in a relationship for long. I didn't think I'd be any different, so why bother introducing me to his friends? After getting out of the car, we had to walk through a small garden to reach the restaurant. I was mostly quiet. My emotions were a tangle of things I couldn't put into words. Not happy? Kevin suddenly stopped walking. You don't want to meet them, right? I shook my head, but then nodded slightly. I don't know them. If you all start talking about politics or finance, I won't understand anything. Kevin had made his first fortune abroad in hedge funds. Most of his friends now were finance elites. And me? Just an ordinary college grad. My monthly salary wasn't enough to cover one of their dinners. It's just a meal. Once it's over, we'll leave, Kevin said, then suddenly grabbed my wrist and pulled me in front of him. Selena. He looked down at me. Kiss me. Huh? Haven't seen you all day. Kiss me. His fingers tilted my chin up. His voice low and tender. I glanced around instinctively. It was dim, and no one was around, so I tiptoed and gave him a soft kiss. But just as I was pulling away, Kevin suddenly deepened the kiss, his palm pressing against the back of my head. It wasn't until I was breathless that he let go. His eyes, always full of mischief, now held a rare tenderness. He gently wiped the moisture from my lips, took my hand again, and said, "Let's go. Time to head in." As he turned, he casually glanced in a direction, and the corner of his mouth lifted ever so slightly. Who was playing whom? If he wasn't doing this willingly, Sam's plan wouldn't have worked so well. Chapter 16. The early summer breeze already carried a hint of heat, but Sam, standing beneath the tree, felt a chill seep through his entire body. A friend had told him that Kevin liked girls like Selena, so once he set his eyes on one, he wouldn't let go. But deep down, Sam had always believed that a well-behaved girl like Selena would never fall for a playboy like Kevin. What he never expected was to see Selena tiptoe obediently, tilt her face up, and kiss another man goodbye. She used to kiss him the same way. In the beginning, he adored how shy and gentle she was, but eventually, he got bored. He was lured in by bold, wild women, totally forgetting how she had once made his heart race. Now, Sam couldn't even describe what he was feeling. It was like something was stuck in his throat, frustrating enough to drive him mad. He had never known he could be this jealous. So jealous he could practically taste blood. And yet, he didn't even have the right to rush up and question her. Because this was all his doing. He had handed Selena over to Kevin with his own hands. There was no one else to blame. Chapter 17. The dinner wasn't as boring as I'd imagined. Maybe because Kevin was thoughtful enough to include me. The conversations were light, easy, and fun. When I went to the restroom, one of his friend's fiancées came with me. As we washed our hands and touched up our makeup, she smiled at me playfully. "So, when's your wedding?" I paused. "We're not planning on getting married." "No? That can't be. He told us himself." "Told you what?" "That he's getting married this year." I smiled awkwardly. "Maybe he's marrying someone else." "What are you talking about? You're his girlfriend." "Of course it's you, but hasn't every one of his relationships lasted less than a month?" She gave me a look like I was from another planet. "Who told you that?" "He's only had one girlfriend, back in middle school. They didn't even hold hands." I gripped my lipstick a little tighter. "Didn't he date a lot of girls while he was abroad?" Plenty chased him, but Kevin was cold as ice. To girls he didn't like, he was heartlessly indifferent. That's why his reputation is complicated. I bit my lip and asked the one question I truly wanted to know. That rumor about a girl dying because of him overseas. It's true. A girl committed suicide after he rejected her. They couldn't save her. But honestly, I think he was innocent. He just didn't return feelings he didn't have. Then why didn't he clarify it? His family owned countless media outlets and PR firms. It wouldn't have been hard to clear his name. No idea. We wondered that too. But he's never wanted to speak up. So the rumors just kept getting crazier. She smiled helplessly. Honestly, his private life is kind of dull. His personality's boring too. He doesn't do any of the wild stuff we do. Then she teased me. Being with him, is it boring too? Actually, no. He didn't seem like a boring person at all. He loved to tease me. But when he made me mad, he was amazing at coaxing me back. Thinking of how he comforted me yesterday, my face grew warm again. Kevin really didn't seem like the man people said he was. And maybe, just maybe, I never disliked him in the first place. Chapter 18. In the second month after the breakup, Sam suddenly showed up at my parents' house. I was shocked when I got the call and rushed home. To my surprise, he came to discuss marriage with them. I actually laughed in disbelief. I took all the expensive gifts he brought and threw them out the door. Sam, you went through all that trouble just to break up with me. You finally got your way. And now you pull this stunt? What is it supposed to mean? I'd always been a gentle person growing up. This was the first time I'd ever lost my temper like this. Even my parents were startled. Selena, what's going on? Let's just talk calmly. I asked them to go to their room. Only after I took a deep breath did I speak again. Sam, stop interfering in my life. I heard everything you two said that night. Sam instantly panicked. Selena, I admit, I was out of my mind back then, but I regret it now. I really, truly regret it. Too late. I let out a small laugh. When you drugged my juice. You should have thought about the consequences. But didn't he just drop you off that night? No, I stayed at Kevin's house. We were together the whole night. Everything happened. Sam shook his head in disbelief. I don't believe it. That's impossible. Isn't this the outcome you wanted? Congratulations. Sam, you got exactly what you wished for. His eyes turned red with fury. He stepped forward and grabbed my arm tightly. Selena, 3 years, our relationship wasn't just nothing. The moment I heard you say those things, I let go. I pushed him away, my voice calm and cold. There's no way you let go that easily after 3 years. Please leave my house. If you come again, I'll call the police without hesitation. Selena, he tried to say more, but I shoved him out the door and locked it behind him. After I comforted my parents and was about to leave, Kevin was already waiting downstairs. He must have noticed I was upset, because he took me to a quiet bar. After a few drinks, slightly tipsy, he took me home. On the ride back, he lowered the divider and gently coaxed me. Did Sam go to your place today? I leaned against his chest, murmuring in a daze. He came to propose. Propose? I kicked him out. He kept going on about how we had 3 years together. How I couldn't possibly move on. Kevin didn't say anything. He just stroked my face gently. He didn't admit it, but he was jealous. Jealous of the 3 years I'd shared with Sam. Those 3 years, they had truly loved each other. No one could come between them. But now, he only felt relieved. Selena, Kevin carried me all the way back to the bedroom, pressing me against the floor-to-ceiling windows. Unlike his past tenderness, this time he was fierce, almost ruthless. His burning palm rested on my lower belly. He kissed my earlobe. Selena, you had 3 years with him. So what? Did he ever make you feel like this? I trembled and shook my head, my voice breaking with sobs. I cried, my fingertips digging deep into the firm muscles of his arm. Kevin. I'm scared. I truly was. I'd never felt like this before. It was like I was dying from the intensity. He lowered his head and kissed away my tears. Selena, marry me. Why? Because I like you. You like me? Yeah, I've liked you for a long time. He smiled in that familiar devil-may-care way. But back then, you were someone else's girlfriend. Can you please step outside? Say yes, and I will. You leave first. Then I'll say yes, Selena. Kevin chuckled in amusement. He leaned down and bit me gently. Then I guess I'm not leaving until you agree. But your family. His family wasn't like mine. They were elite, powerful. Surely he couldn't marry just anyone. They've already approved. What did you say? You think all those rumors over the years, that I was a playboy, that someone died because of me, just spread on their own? Kevin chuckled softly. That was always his way. He'd do whatever it took to get what he wanted, never caring about the method or the cost. With Selena, it had been love at first sight. When he found out she had a boyfriend, he'd considered walking away, but instead, he became obsessed, watching her every move from the shadows like a madman. And the more he watched, the harder it became to let go. Some kinds of love don't need logic. It's just that person. Everything about them fits your taste perfectly. Even if Sam had never thought about breaking up, Kevin would have found another way to steal her away. He would have taken the love even if it meant war. As for his family, he had been preparing for this moment for a long time. He knew their difference in background would be a major obstacle, so he'd already cleared the path. That's how Chinese families work. If you try to tear down the whole house, they'll resist you with everything. But if you say you just want to open a window, they'll agree without a second thought. So he chose to marry a girl from an ordinary family. To the elders, that was far better than being a scandal-ridden bachelor who refused to settle down and once caused a death. Selena, you're the only one I've ever dated. You have to take responsibility for me. Kevin lifted me into his arms. You're the sweetest, most well-behaved girl. You won't break my heart, right? The phrase break my heart made me laugh unexpectedly, and in that moment, while laughing, I nodded. Kevin carried me back to bed, leaned down, and kissed the dimple on my cheek. Since you've said yes, I'll come out now. But I reached up and hugged him tightly. Kevin, just go slow. I pressed my face against his chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. I thought back to that night in the garden. The first time we met, he draped his suit jacket over my shoulders. Who would have thought we'd end up here? Selena, close your eyes. I closed them without hesitation. Then I felt a slight weight on my finger, cool, metallic. A ring slipped on. I opened my eyes. On my middle finger sparkled a dazzling diamond, glimmering under the night sky. Do you like it? I smiled softly, lips pressed together, then turned my head toward the balcony, where the flowers were blooming. Summer had arrived, and the flowers that belonged to me were finally in full bloom.